Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about my brief thoughts of Pachinko Season 1. Here we go. Pachinko Season 1 is excellent. Apple TV Plus has been delivering in the year of 2022 between this and Severance. Their shows remind me of when Netflix first came on the scene, when it was more about quality versus quantity. And they're just really well-made dramas. It reminds me of like older films, but drawn out for like 8 to 10 hours. I love their programming so far, and this show is no exception. This is actually based on a book by Min-Jin Lee, and I have not read the book. I want to now, and supposedly this first season only covers half the story. They're already renewed this show for a season 2. But I love how they developed this show, and it was developed and written by Soo Hugh, and I think she did an amazing job here presenting this story and adapting it. And supposedly there's like 3 books within the actual novel of Pachinko, with 4 generations of this Korean immigrant family. We get to see this woman named Sunja, and it starts with her as a little girl in the early 1900s. We get to see how Korea is occupied by the Japanese, and she later has to leave her home and go to Japan. And throughout the course of this show, we get to see 4 generations of this Korean immigrant family, all the way to a contemporary 1989, where Sunja's grandson, Solomon, is in America and then comes back for a business deal. And there's so much to this story. It's amazing how they juggle these time periods, but also how like these different stories, even throughout the space of time, interconnect with one another. I absolutely love how this is crafted, but it's also shot extremely well. And these episodes are not for the faint of heart. This is an intense show, and it's based on real events. Many Korean immigrants still live with their grandparents and ancestors going through this. This is still in people's families. And I have to say, you don't have to be Japanese or Korean to enjoy this. This is a human story. Any person who knows what it's like to struggle, any person who deals with oppression, any person that deals with hardships and tries to basically remain strong and resilient through it can find something in this show. And I think many families, this is your ancestors, this is your grandparents, this is the struggle they have gone through. This is something that's shaped all of our families. You may not be a Korean, but I feel like you can find something that you can relate to. And that's why I say this is a very human story. You don't have to be Korean to really enjoy this and feel moved by it. This is one of the most moving shows this year. I mean, it's heartbreaking in many ways, but I love this character of Sunja. It starts off in the early 1900s, and she's a small girl. Her father's kind of a cripple, but we get to see how like the Japanese occupation of South Korea happens and how they treat the people, and it's horrible. And this stuff actually happened. So we go from there to 1989 with the grandson Solomon, and in between that, there's so much more to the story. She finds romance, there's betrayal, there's love, there's heartbreak. I won't go into spoilers because I feel like I would ruin it for people. You have to go in blind here and enjoy it for yourselves. But it's one of those shows where I wanted to binge the whole thing, but I just couldn't because like each episode is just so moving and like it just brings you down to your knees with like the human hardship of all the characters and what they have to go through. Before I continue, it has a brilliant use of Let's Live for Today by the Grassroots from the 60s. It kind of is jarring in the intro, but it's also like the most happiest thing of the whole show, and I think that was the intent. And the word pachinko is pretty much, it's a term used for like a pinball slot machine used for gambling. It's like a pachinko place, and Solomon's father has a pachinko parlor. I also love how this show, throughout the 4 generations, shows what they gain and lose. Solomon is wealthy, he's more successful, but he's missing other things that made younger Sunja and other members of his family. There is a drive for greed and power. There's a lack of empathy for certain traditions and people, and it kind of shows that. And that is kind of true with like generations, in a family that like, yeah, you may be in this place in life, but there's something with a sense of community and culture that's like missing. But real quick, the cast. Mina Kim plays teen Sunja, and then Yeon Woo Jung plays older Sunja. I may be mispronouncing these, so I'm sorry. Jin Ha plays Solomon. Solji Arao plays Mizazu. Lee Min Ho plays Hanzu. Anna Sawai plays Naomi. And we have Jimmy Simpson as Tom, with Mari Yamamoto as Hana. Again, I apologize if I mispronounced those names, but I love all the actors. You have some great actors here, and they play the parts perfectly. Each time period fits, whether it's 1913, whether it's the 30s, whether it's like going into the beginning of World War II, whether it's like the 80s and having that kind of Wall Street Black Rain vibe about it. I love the look of this show and the story, and I wanted to see more. I thought they were going to get the whole book done, but they've renewed it for a season 2, and I cannot wait to see the rest of the story. There's so much to this that I can't really correctly describe in this video without going too much into spoilers. So I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you love different films and stuff. It does have subtitles, and I love it because they use blue and yellow text for like Japanese and Korean, and then it switches to another color for like English subtitles, and I love it. I love how they do that. And if you have a high attention span and you don't mind reading subtitles, I highly recommend it. There is an option to see it dubbed, but there's no fun in that. Watch this with the subtitles on, and you're going to be engaged in this story. It is one of the best shows of the year, and I cannot wait to see how it concludes and it continues. And I want to read the book because I think it's wonderful how they adapted this, because the book was set in 3 different time periods, and this one manages to kind of juggle everything in a non-linear, interconnected story. And it's just great. I love it. I absolutely love it. And Sunja, her story, it's just so damn deep, from her upbringing, finding love, marrying someone else, running from her past, dealing with the choices of her life, but then seeing the outcome of what happened with her career and family. I just absolutely love this show, and I cannot wait to see more of it. I would have to say I give it a 5 out of 5 and an A+. This is one of the best pieces of art and television I have seen. I mean, this is how you do a long-form narrative, and more people should be watching this show. It does not get enough love, and I'm kind of ticked because this is like one of the best things I have seen in a very, very long time. And it's an amazing story. Great work from all the cast and crew. Anyway, those are my brief thoughts on Pachinko. I know I didn't go too deep into this video, but I just wanted to briefly talk about it without going to spoilers. That's your job to check it out. Let me know what you think of the show. Have you seen it? If not, check it out on Apple TV+. But if you have seen it, let me know what you thought about Pachinko and some of the moments that really made you cry. I know at the end, they end up fast forwarding to 2021, and they show stories of real women who experienced what Sunja experienced, and like it is their family story that is in their blood and their family history of what happened between the Japanese and the Koreans, and it's sad. You know, I think especially here in America, you're going to realize that a lot of the problems you go through are first world problems, that you're very entitled, that there's a lot of hardships and adversity and just travesties that people around the world have gone through. And seeing a lens on that and seeing a story from people who've actually experienced that, endured that, and survived it is quite something. And it moved me by the end of it. So definitely check it out. This is underrated. In the meantime, stay safe and healthy out there, everyone. Be sure to subscribe for more videos. And on these videos, you can check out these other videos for more content. Till next time, everyone, I'm going to be talking about Barry on HBO with a reaction. And then we're going to have the anniversary of Spider-Man from 2002, as well as May the 4th be with you. So there might be a special Star Wars video out there. Till next time.